Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's good to be back. Like I said in the video, the last video I did, I just had a family incident. Everyone's fine and stuff, but me and my whole family have been dealing with it all week, so I didn't have time to get to anything. So plans got messed up again, like always. But continuing on with Argento, talking 1975's Deep Red, or Profondo Rosso, as it was in Italian. And this is a fucking masterpiece. Like, this movie and the next two, for me, Suspiria and Inferno, like, might be the three greatest movies by a single director released one after the other. Like, I would have to think of it, but I'm pretty sure, like, just off the top of my head, these three movies, one after the other, is just magic. Like, it really is. It's unbelievable. So the first thing we got to talk about with this is the score by Goblin, which this is after his first three movies was Ennio Morricone doing the score. He brought in progressive rock band Goblin for this and basically worked with them for most of the rest of his career. And for a goddamn good reason, man. These guys, oh, the music that these people make for his films is stunning. Like, it's so masterfully done. And like I said, I would consider this Argento's first masterpiece. Like, yeah, Bird with Crystal Plumage is great. Cat of Nine Tails, I said I liked the best out of all the first three. And I had to change around Four Flies on Grey Velvet because I couldn't find it anywhere online. And I tried renting it, and my card was getting an error, like, or there's an error with Prime or whatever it was. I couldn't get it, so I have to find it on like some website or something. So I said, all right, I'll just circle back to it after I knock these three out. But as good as those three are, this is just where it started. This is where he blew up. This is where everyone knew the name Dario Argento after this movie, and especially Suspiria. But like, I feel like even without Suspiria, just this movie alone was enough to make him one of the most sought after directors in horror. And you can tell in like every shot, every scene, everything in this movie is just fantastic. It's unreal. We open with the cheeriest music ever with the reoccurring kid song throughout this movie, and we just see a silhouette of somebody stabbing someone, and then the knife drops into frame, blood on it and everything. Then it just fades to black into that excellent main theme score and stuff that they play at the beginning and throughout this movie. So good. And as soon as it fades to black and the music comes on, it just says Deep Red on it, and the music goes. Oh, such a great start to this movie, man. So good. Like, I can't say enough about the score, and I will. Trust me. Like, I will keep saying more about it. But such great stuff. And then we get the psychic Helga, who I like how they made it like not like your typical like psychic. Like, she like can't see the future or anything like that or predict the future, but she can see like thoughts as they're forming like in the present. That's a cool little spin on the whole psychic bullshit from so many movies that we've seen in the past. But that's a cool little spin on it. I don't think I can recall a movie like that, like dealing with psychics in that way, either seeing into the past or into the future. Never just like seeing thoughts as they come out of people's heads, like in that moment. It's unique, absolutely unique. And let's see, that whole scene though it's beautiful looking. It's like the red curtain background, and like this is the film that you could see Argento really starting to play around with with his color and everything that would become his trademark, one of his trademarks, like with his Argento reds and all these different colors. But I mean, it's there a little bit in like the first three films, like a little bit. Like I was mentioning the videos for the first two, it's a lot. He used a lot of like repeating patterns and wallpaper and stuff like that, like which caused a made a great atmosphere and stuff. Just trippy repeating patterns all over his movies. But he didn't start getting into like the Suspiria, Inferno type color all over the place thing until I think this was the start of it here with Deep Red. And that whole scene, it just looks beautiful. Just the curtain behind her and her whole performance, the psychic at the beginning of this movie is excellent. Just the whole way that she goes on saying that, like, I hear something or I sense something, and it's like perverted thoughts, like killing thoughts, murderous thoughts, like you're a killer and you're going to kill again, and she's just like, I can't take this, and she starts freaking out. Awesome. Like, so good. She did such a good job with this little role she has at the beginning of this movie, which kicks the whole rest of the movie off. So, but what a performance. Like, in that scene, excellent stuff. That theater is fucking gorgeous, too. Like, it's so many things in this movie, and all of his movies are just absolutely gorgeous to look at. Then we have her in her apartment, and we have the killer come with the hatchet or cleaver or whatever. They say both in the movie, but I know an alternate title was the Hatchet Murders, so I'll go with hatchet, even though it's clearly a cleaver. But her in her apartment and everything, and then he just hacks her right in the chest, and we see it go into her chest, and she falls to the ground, and then she hacks into her back like 1 or 2 times. Now we're getting some gore in Argento's movies. Like I mentioned in the earlier ones, like there's a little bit of blood here and there and stuff, but the gore that he became like real famous for and everything in his movies, like this is the film that started it. Like we get some great kills and great gore effects in this movie. Like for sure, some really cool stuff. And then we meet Marcus, who I absolutely love him in this movie. Forget the actor's name, but he did such a great job as just this leading man. He's a pianist, a musician, so I can relate to that. I'm a guitarist, and I play a little bit of that too. So I can relate with his little, just like calm, like rational demeanor. He's just, what a great character, and he puts on such a great performance. And then we meet Carlo, his drunk friend, and they hear a scream from Helga, and he's like, oh, it sounds like a scream. And then Carlo's like, he's drunk, he's like a total drunk and everything. He's like, oh, maybe somebody's getting raped. And then he like toasts to somebody getting raped. Like, it's so fucking weird. Like, that is so weird. Like, he's like, all right, like, to you, old raped virgin, or some shit like. I mean, it's fucked up, man. I mean, unless you're into rape, but I mean, I'm not, and I'd say the majority of people aren't, so I'd say majority rules here, and it's fucked up. But what a random line. Like, there's so many things in Argento films that are just totally random, and just like weird for the sake of being weird, but it adds such a quirkiness and like just a style to his movies. It's like no one else. Like, he really has such a knack for that. And then we see Marcus, that great shot of seeing Helga with her arms against the window with the killer behind her, and she gets her face just smashed through the window, and the glass cuts all her neck up and everything. And it's amazing. Like, this whole intro to this movie, this whole beginning sequence with the murder is so fucking good. And he ends up going up there and finding her dead and everything, and then the cops are called. And he's an intelligent guy too, Marcus. Very intelligent, like very put together, like has a great mind on his shoulders. And they ask him about the raincoat, and they're like, so tell us again about the killer's raincoat. And he said, whoa, I didn't say that to you. I said I saw someone in a brown raincoat walking away from the building. Like, just the way, like, his responses to the cops and like to Gianna, like a little later and stuff, their chemistry, just what a great character, man. I can't say it enough. I love Marcus. And then we meet Gianna, played by obviously Dario Nicolodi, who after Suspiria became Dario's wife for many, many years, and was in a lot, if not most of his films, from Suspiria to, not Suspiria, but from one of those, I can't remember right now, to like through the 80s and stuff. She was in a lot of his movies, and he always picked like brutal ways to kill his wife in all these movies too, like an opera with the fucking peephole scene. He must be getting like his marital frustrations out like through film and stuff for his wife. And I love when they're I love that she gives Marcus shit for like being a nervous guy, and he has to justify himself. He's like, well, I'm just how I am. I'm a musician. Like I'm reserved and stuff. And like their whole banter back and forth is so great. And the arm wrestling and like him saying that's totally cheating. Like you are blatantly cheating right now. And just so many great exchange of dialogue between them. So many great lines. Like you feel the chemistry between these two characters. Like so well through the screen in this movie. And then we get the line that Carlo's not only a drunk, but he's a faggot. I don't know, man. This movie, like a lot of his movies, would not be out today. Like, I'm telling you that right now, man. Would not be coming out. Then the whole thing with the painting, with the reveal and everything at the end, because I mean, this is all spoilers, obviously, for everyone's watching should have seen this movie. The whole thing with the mirror at the beginning, and the fact that he walks right by the killer at the beginning of this movie is fucking brilliant. Absolutely awesome. So well thought out. That is so clever that they basically just waved the answer in front of all of our faces at the very beginning, like the 10-15 minutes into the movie, like around there. And like if you were really paying attention, you could catch that. I mean, I don't know how many people did. The first time I saw this, I didn't catch it. But I'm sure there are people who did. Or at least just make you think like, wait, did I just see, like, no, I thought I saw something in the mirror. No, maybe it was my imagination. The way they handled that and the way that he threw that in there was a risk too, because if too many people see it, then it's like, I mean, she's not in the movie much at all. But like if people see it, then they can be like, that's the killer. Like, so just the way that it's shot, like so fast, and her face blends in with the painting that is reflecting off of. Oh, it's so good. That is such a clever little twist at the end of him finding out that it wasn't a painting. It was a mirror reflection I was looking at. Such creative stuff, man. Like you don't hear clever twists or things like that anymore nowadays. Like for the most part, like, man, I miss, well, not miss, I wasn't around, but I miss the 70s and fucking 80s. I had to be born in 88 and live through the fucking terrible decades. Let's see here. I love like Marcus's piano scene when he's playing piano and stuff. Like it sounds beautiful and it's very well shot. Like just like zooming on his hands and then on him and then like part of the apartment and just the way that he shoots everything in this movie. And just the camera work. Everything is phenomenal in this movie. Like and then the footsteps when the killer's coming for him and you hear the footsteps slowly approaching, and just the sound design in this movie is excellent. Like so good, between the use of Goblin's score and the kid song and everything that we hear repeatedly throughout this, and just everything regarding the sound design is so good in this movie. And the score is fucking phenomenal. Like absolutely. And when it's just an eerie line and stuff, when the killer is behind the door and she's like, this time you're safe, but I'll kill you later, or whatever she says, something like that. It's eerie, like it's real eerie, especially that you know that the killer is onto him at this point, and he's such a likable character, Marcus, that you want him to survive this. Like you want him to figure this out, like, which is awesome. Very well handled. The shot of the marbles and the doll panning around them with the main theme playing and everything, and the shot of the eyeball. It's just, there's so many just creative, artistic shots in this movie that it's just, if I were to write down every like amazing shot, we'd never end. I mean, I'd never get to Suspiria. Like, I'd be talking about this movie for like a few hours. Like it's the same with Suspiria, and the same with Inferno, and the same with Opera, and the same with like all his '80s movies too. Like just the guy is just a fucking mastermind when it comes to framing and directing, and the camera works and everything. It's unreal. And then we have the whole scene with the doll hanging up in the woman's apartment, the writer, with the birds, and it's a tense scene, like walking in the dark hallways, and there's not really any music or anything, and the score is like really subtle and creepy. And then we see the shot of the killer's eye, like in a closet or something, which always reminded me, vice versa of each other, of Black Christmas. This was only a year before this, when you see Billy's eye through the doorway, and that's all you see of his. It reminds me of that every time I see one of these movies or the other. It reminds me of the other one. But awesome shot. And then the doll's head falling off, and the bird's going crazy, and then the kid song kicks on, and then stabs the bird flying at her because she's just so terrified in that moment and everything that she thinks it's some guy, which it ends up being. And how he just drowns her head in this scalding hot water. And that's gotta be such a painful way to die, man. That's fucking evil. Like, putting the water, like, at scalding temperatures and just submerging someone's head under it. Oh, man, I would not want that to happen to me under any circumstances. So I will stay out of situations that remind me of this movie, for sure, in the future. And there's such great tension too, like in that scene, how it's just like very subtle music when she's walking around and stuff, and then as the killer starts fucking with her and dragging her to the room, like more heavy synthesizer goblin music kicks in. And I can't say enough about Goblin's score in this movie and the rest of the movies they've done for him. Like every single movie with Goblin doing the score. Not to take anything away from Morricone. He's fucking brilliant. That guy's scored like hundreds and hundreds of movies. Like literally. Like 400 or 500 films or something like that he scored. Which is unbelievable. And so many are so good. So nothing taken away from him at all. But Jesus, man. Goblin and Argento was just one of the perfect fits in horror history. Like, it was unbelievable that it turned out that way. And then we have a great shot of her laying there dead on the floor of the bathroom when the cops show up, and her with the mirror and it's reflecting her dead body. So you see like two of her like in there through her reflection. Another really, really great shot. Then he finds out, Marcus finds out when he gets to the place where the crime happened, when the author was killed, that he found the picture of the creepy house and everything that he ends up finding. And what a fucking beautiful house. Creepy and beautiful at the same time. But man, that house is awesome. I don't know if it still exists, but I would love to go visit that house. I mean, from the inside of it, but I don't know if that was just a sound stage or anything, but I don't know. I would love to go visit that house. Like, absolutely. And it's called, I think, the House of the Screaming Child. Like in real life. So it existed at some point. Like, I don't know if they tore it down or it's abandoned or what, but what a great house, which I said on the channel before. Just for some reason, whenever I see a great looking house or a creepy house in a movie, I notice it and I gotta bring it up for some reason. I don't know. Maybe I'm a house enthusiast that I'm unaware of for my entire life. And then that entire scene, the whole thing, of Marcus entering the house, and with the music playing, just the intense music playing while he's walking around and explores the house, is just brilliant. And then when he notices the wall, like the wallpaper coming off the sheetrock or whatever that is, that makes him know that something's behind there, and then the main theme kicks in again right there. Awesome. So good. Like, absolutely phenomenal stuff. And the mural painting thing is creepy as shit too. Like, the killer in that like looks like, kind of reminds me of like one of the monsters from Where the Wild Things Are for some reason. Like, it kind of looks like that. And it makes sense because if Carlo saw his mother kill his father, like, she would be like a monster to him. So it kind of makes sense that he drew it like that made the mom a monster, like literally. which is a cool little detail they threw in. Then another brilliant scene, just with the whole thing with Giordani, quiet in his office. And it's all just subtle and quiet, and just like you can just hear him walking around and fiddle with the things on his desk and whatever he's doing. Then the music just kicks in, the kid music, and it's just so eerie. And then just getting that shot of the fucking doll, the mechanical doll, rushing out of the closet and scaring the shit out of him, and him splitting his head open. That's got to be probably the most famous scene from this movie. For people that aren't big Argento fans but have seen 1 or 2, 3 of his movies, like obviously Suspiria would be the number one, but like this scene from this movie, I would argue is the most well-known scene in Deep Red for like casual Argento fans, or even ones who love the hell out of Argento. It's an iconic scene. Like that doll, dummy, whatever you want to call it, is so recognizable. Like as soon as you see that face, you know, Deep Red, like immediately. It's so good looking, it's so effective, it's so creepy. And then just the kill, man, that he just basically curb stomps this guy's mouth multiple times over like the edge of his dresser and the edge of the table, like nightstand, and just, dude, it's brutal looking, man. Fuck American History X. This shit it looks so good. It really does. And then how he just stabs him in the back of the neck and the blood's coming out. Now that's gore. That is some good gore. Like I was mentioned earlier about the few earlier films of his. It's lacking in that department. Like that's a great fucking kill, man. Then when we see Marcus find the corpse behind the wall, and I'm guessing that's the father's, right? From who gets killed in the morning, Carla's father, in the beginning, that the mother kills. I meant to say mother and beginning at the same time. It came out as morning. But you know what I fucking mean. And even if you don't, I don't know. Now you got a mystery on your shoulders you got to solve. What does this guy mean? And he gets knocked out so easily. Like it's like a tap and he gets knocked out. Like that happens in so many movies. Like it's so ridiculous. And he gets knocked out, really? Like seriously? I don't think so. Then this whole scene after that, the whole way that the scene is shot, with the house ablaze, and Gianna and Marcus on the ground, and just like panning between all of that, and just the camera work, it's just so brilliantly shot, with just the flames just blazing on that house, with them watching it, just so good, so good. And then we see Olga's picture. And he says, you know, it's not a coincidence. Like, where did you see this picture? It's identical. And she tells him it was at a school, which they go to that school to try to find the original picture. And then when Gianna is stabbed, like, it's, let me say this. Argento is one of the few directors that I know and love that can make death and violence look horrifying, yet gorgeous at the same time. Like absolutely. Like in Tenebrae, when at the end when she gets her arm chopped, her hand, like from here down, her hand chopped off, and then the blood sprays on the white wall and everything. It's fucking gorgeous, that shot. But I mean, you just saw a girl's arm got chopped off and her blood spraying everywhere. Like like him and maybe like and David Lynch. It's another one of my favorite directors. Are the only two I can think of off the top of my head that can make death and killing and gruesome shit like that look both beautiful and horrifying. Like it's a fucking knack, man. Like he's just a master at that. Like he's a master at so many different things. Like so amazing at how he has an eye for things like that, and that he's able to make death and brutal killings look beautiful, just with the lighting and just the framing and the just everything. Unreal. Then after she's stabbed, and the way it's shot, like I was saying, like when you see her like with the knife in her and everything, and then you see all the wooden chairs to the right side of the frame that are all arranged perfectly in like a pattern and stuff. It looks so good. Like it's just so good attention to detail and everything. Like he has such an eye for framing his shots. Then we find out that Carlo drew the picture, and the cops come. And then, oh man, is so great. When Carlo's dragged by the truck, then he's being dragged all the way down the fucking like blocks and blocks of city streets and stuff, just being torn apart by the pavement and stuff. And then the truck stops and they get out, and then he's laying there like he can't move. He's beaten to hell. Then the car just comes and crushes his head, and you see his head crush. Fucking phenomenal, man. Excellent gore. Like, it looks so good. Like, that's what we needed in the first 3 movies. Like and I even said in those videos, Bird with Crystal Plumage, Cat o' Nine Tails, and I don't even remember Four Flies on Grey Velvet that much. It's been years since I've seen that movie. I remember being alright on it, but they don't really need them. They're more like classic Giallos. I mean, this is a Giallo too, but it's so stylized. It's so different than anything else in that genre of Giallo up until that point, that it's just its own thing. Like, I can't group it with his Animal trilogy that kicked off his career. Like, it's just so much more than that, and everyone knows that who is an Argento fan. But man, the way his head is crushed is so great. Then, like I said earlier, the Marcus is just an incredibly intelligent guy, because he says, like, wait, Carlo, I was with him when she got killed, the psychic. And I don't even know how many people would think of that in that situation. I would. I mean, I'd be like, no, this can't be you. I was with him. He was drunk, and I looked up. I saw her getting killed. But, like, a lot of people, man, trust me, they wouldn't even think of that. And then they'd realize and they'd be like, wait, that's right, that person was with me, right? And I'm like, yeah, you idiot, fucking, yeah, they were with you, they're right next to you. But the way he puts that together, awesome. Then, just like I said, the mirror reveal from earlier, what I was talking about, is just excellent. So clever, so well shot, just something, it's such a clever twist in a Giallo or in any type of horror movie that is, it stands above a lot of twists in horror movies for me. Like, just the misdirection with it being a painting this whole time, and it was just the murderer there from the very beginning of the film that you could see if you're really looking, and it turns out that's the killer. And it's so clever, so fucking brilliant. And we find out that Carlos's mom, I don't keep saying Carlos' mom killed his dad because she didn't want to go to the hospital. So that's what you do. All right, guys, if you don't want to get institutionalized or go back to a hospital, you just kill your husband. It's like, you get out of it. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a rampage of murder later in life, but you get out of it for the time being. So might be worth, might be the lesser of two evils for some people out there. Not for me, but some people who might be watching. Yeah, I fucking see you looking at me. You definitely are guilty. You know it. And then then seeing that whole flashback from the silhouette in the beginning, and now we see what actually happened. And then we see little Carlo pick the knife up with all the blood and just staring at it. And even with the blood in Argento's movies, it's in a lot of Italian horror movies that it's very fake looking. It's a lot more like bright red. But in Argento films, it just adds to the style, to the color, to the way he lights the shots and stuff. Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, I really like the blood in his movies, like this and Suspiria, and just like that over the top, and like coincidence that he worked with Romero on Dawn of the Dead, because the blood in Dawn of the Dead looks the same way. Like, they had to use like some of that Italian blood, I guess, because it looks like Italian blood in that movie, and it has such a distinct look to it. But I usually am on it. But in an Argento film, it just adds to everything that he's trying to do. Then I love how he's staring at the knife, and then it just smash cuts to the present, to the mother trying to like hack fucking Marcus, and it breaks the mirror. And then, oh man, what an ending. You thought Cat o' Nine Tails had a good elevator ending. Man. And her necklace gets caught in the elevator, and the doors, in the elevator doors, and then he's pushing the button, and it comes up, and she just gets decapitated, and her fucking just rips, and then you just see the necklace hanging, then just the last shot of just Marcus's reflection and her blood on the ground. Then how it just says, "You've been watching Deep Red." as the music plays. Oh man, what a phenomenal movie. It's a masterpiece in my eyes, absolutely. And so are the next two. So I'll have Suspiria up in a few hours, and I'll probably do Inferno and Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and since I had to skip that, and what's the next one? And Tenebrae tomorrow. Then Sunday that'll leave Opera and no, Phenomena, Opera, and Two Evil Eyes. And then next weekend we'll start with Trauma and move on after that. But all right, guys, that is Deep Red or Profondo Rosso or the Hatchet Murders, whatever you want to refer to it as. Such a masterpiece, one of his greatest films. Not my favorite of his, but it is a masterpiece, like without a doubt. Like same with Suspiria, same with Inferno. Just this guy couldn't do wrong in the 70s and 80s. Like couldn't do wrong. Everything he did was just golden. And that's why I'm dedicating a whole fucking month to him, because he absolutely deserves it. All right, guys, I will see you in a bit with Suspiria. Apologies again for not being around the list 4 or 5 days, but as much as I love the few people of you who watch, my daughter and my family mean more. So fuck you. I'm not really sorry. I am though. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night or morning wherever you're from. Bye.